So you can spoil, but you have to balance it and start teaching them a little bit of discipline, a little bit of restraint, a little bit of not everything you ask for you can be given. So when you're 3, you may not understand all of that all the time. You may understand a little bit. But when you're 5, you understand a little bit more. When you're 7, you should understand a lot more that there's a time to ask for this and there's a time not to ask for this. There's here I can give you what you're asking for, here I can't give you what you're asking for. Right? So this is where you have to start moving away from making them feel spoiled to making them feel like they are now part of those people who have discipline, and there's a time for things and there's a time not for those things. Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Do you think there's a certain age in the youth where after that point, if that person is still like not listening, still not doing like good or doing what they're supposed to be doing, do you think there's an age where like you can't really help them?
Yeah, so this is a good question. If there's an age or a point after which, if you feel that the person you've given them advice and tried with them and it's not looking like it's working. This is a point that I skipped over. I didn't go into too much detail. Sometimes it looks like it's a hopeless case. If we want to follow our Islamic teachings, we don't believe in a hopeless case. There is no hopeless case. And there is something that is extremely important for all of us, inshallah, all of you are parents or will become parents, and the roles that you play in these communities, the leadership role that you play. When you find that someone has good and bad, the reality is everybody has good and bad. There's no one who is pure good. And there's no one who is pure bad. That doesn't exist. When I'm going to use an example, okay? But this is something that is applied in human psychology. The way they train animals is not by finding what's bad and disciplining them. The good animal trainers, what they do, and you're going to see this with dolphins and with dogs and with elephants and with tigers. How do they train animals? How do you get an animal to do what you want from them? What you do, and this same thing applies to human beings. If you want to be effective, if you don't want to damage the person, you reward the good. It's not by just punishing the bad. Rely more on rewarding the good. Catch the person doing good. Don't look for them doing the bad. Look for them doing the good and catch it and reward it. This is going to make the person want to repeat that. Just like it makes the animal want to repeat that, because they get a treat. And the treat can be anything. This is where your wisdom and where your strategy comes in. Every person ticks for a different reason. One person wants a little bit of pocket money. One person just wants your attention. One person wants to be recognized or have a reputation in the community. Find what makes them tick and reward them with it. If you do enough of that, you hook the person. You become the drug they need. You've become the one who recognized and rewarded the good, instead of being the one who disciplined the bad. Okay, that's one thing. The second thing, which is a huge issue in a lot of communities, is that sometimes we become exclusivist. Okay, what do I mean by that? When we feel that someone is not matching the profile we've created of something, let's say the profile of a religious person, we decide to exclude them. We don't make them feel that they're welcome. And sometimes we think we're doing a good thing. You're not welcome in this mosque if you don't dress this way. You're not welcome in this community if you don't behave that way. The reality is, in a lot of cases, you've lost that person. So you've lost your ability to influence that person. Because you don't like their hairdo or their jeans or something that they did wrong, and you've said enough things 1 or 2 or 3 times, you've lost your influence on that person. And sometimes it can be very bad things that they do. But so long as they're still showing up, you still have a chance to influence them and bring them back. Once you cut that cord, once you create a situation where that person says, I'm no longer going there, I don't need that, that's it. You've lost your ability to influence that person. We need to be inclusive. When you find someone, it doesn't matter who it is, include them. By default, we include everyone. Include the atheist, and include the homosexual, and include the person who's confused, and include the Sunni and the Shi'i and the religious person and the non-religious person. Whatever you find, include them. And you want to influence them. Once you've included them, show them with good conduct, with your behavior. This is the prophetic work we're talking about. It's not by preaching. Preaching does not work. It works, but it's limited. You want to influence people, you include and you show them by rewarding the good that you see in them. The good, make it come to the fore. That person, everybody is waiting for the good that they have to come to the forth, to come to the front. They're not sure how. If you are the person who makes that good come out, you find something that this person has, use it in the community. Give them a role. Make them feel accountable. When you make people feel accountable, they come back and say, I'm going to step up and I'm going to show them that I'm doing a good job. It doesn't matter what it is. Find a role for them. Give them an identity. Give them something that you think they're going to excel at, they're going to be good at. This is a reward for them. And ignore the bad. The bad will be fixed with enough time. And we have narration upon narration from Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam about this. People who are good, but who also commit sins. And people who come to the imams and tell them, has this person my brother or my cousin or my friend? They have many narrations. They're a good person. I know they're a good person. But they keep doing this sin. Some of them, they drink alcohol. Some of them, they don't pray. Some of them. And the imam tells them, no, don't lose the person. Keep them coming back. Talk to them. Don't make them go away. Include, as much as possible, include everyone no matter what they're doing. Find the good, that's your job. Find the good, reward it, make it come to the fore. And the rest, this is your work on just your conduct. Show them your goodness. And not by preaching. Preaching is easy. It's limited. Your influence is limited. It's show them with good conduct. Just like Ahl al-Bayt would. When people would come up to them and they would insult them, when this Jewish woman, very well-known story, would treat the Prophet the way she would throw filth at him, she would throw garbage at him every day, she would throw ashes at him, she would throw the insides of animals that have been slaughtered at him. And one day that she was not there, a second day, a third day, he asked, and he was told that she was sick at home. And that's the reason why she's not throwing the filth on him. And the Prophet would just ignore her. He went to visit her to make sure that she's okay. Maybe she has no one taking care of her while she's sick. And she entered Islam because of that. Not because of preaching, because of conduct. This is what influenced her, not the preaching. The preaching is easy. I always say, preaching is easy. Anyone can repeat those words. And that's why Imam Ali alayhi salam says, look and give importance and give respect and give esteem to the person who has educated themselves, not educated the others. That's where it starts. Very good question. Yes?
Okay, you said only sacrifice.
Yeah.
So we're supposed to be nice to them? Like, I thought we're just supposed to not associate with them. We're supposed to be inclusive.
So it depends. So are you trying to influence this person? Or is it someone, what I was talking about a lot more are people, for instance, in our communities. This is an excellent question. These are people that I'm trying, what I said is, what we're trying to do is to have the maximum impact in our community. So if I feel that someone in my community has now chosen that path, of course I have to be inclusive. I have to bring them back. I cannot tell them, you have now chosen to decide. Of course I believe this is a sin. Of course I believe that they have erred and that they have made a major mistake here. But the solution to this mistake is not to tell them, I no longer associate with you, you're on your own, I never want to see your face in the mosque ever again. What I have to do is to tell them, no, keep attending the mosque, keep listening to what they have to say, keep being a member of our community. Yes, there's a problem, there's an issue, obviously you have to be open about it, you can say, I completely disagree with your action. I have no problem with you as a person, I respect you, I love you as a human being. No problem with that. My issue is with this behavior of yours. Just like I can respect or love someone and tell them, but I disagree that you lied or that you stole. Well, I disagree with your action. I don't disagree with you. As a human being, you keep your dignity, and my job is to influence you get back there. And if I exclude you, I've lost that. I no longer have any ability to influence you. Now I'm going to say something that I said at the beginning, I'm going to say it in a different way. What I said at the beginning is all of this started with what? What did I say before I act, what do I do? Educate yourself. Why? Because if I don't have the tools to address these issues, I may actually end up corrupting myself. I may actually end up harming myself. If I'm a doctor and I'm trying to treat a patient and I don't know what kind of disease they have, I may actually end up dying before them just by contracting their disease. Right? I have to understand what I'm dealing with and what's the proper way to deal with it so that I can do something about it. And that's why I say, no matter what issue I'm trying to deal with, I take a step back, I educate myself. I look at what am I trying to do? What does my religion say about this? What do the experts say about this? Is there a way for me to balance? I'm not sure, I go ask. There are plenty of people who will help me. And then I try to do the rest. Yeah.
So I know there's some families who have, family members who do bad things, and so sometimes what they do is exclude they don't really associate with these family members in fear of maybe they're going to influence younger people. The problem is sometimes these family members can be loud, can be very outspoken about their opinions. So, how do you deal with this?
Yeah, so there's a part of the question that's always going to be a case by case, and those I can't deal with. Every case, every family, every person is going to be different. I'm sure that there are going to be situations where it makes more sense to push the person out because they're doing too much harm, it's impossible to contain. The truth of the matter between us here, the truth of the matter is not that that person is doing too much damage. Is that those managing the situation, they don't have the tools, either the knowledge, the management, they've never gone through anything like this before in life, they don't know who to talk to, how to deal with this, they don't have the tools to deal with this crisis. So in that case, yeah, maybe as a desperate last measure, the only thing they have left to do is to try to cut off, create a barrier. But based on the principles we explained, the gap here is with the people managing the crisis. They need to go arm themselves and resource themselves and get the tools they need to deal with this kind of situation without losing the person forever. If you've excluded this person, what are your chances of ever getting them back? Who knows what else they're now gonna do? They don't feel like they're part of anything now. If they had any reason to hold back on anything, you've now cut that reason, and now they're completely on their own and they can do whatever they feel like. You've cut off that reason. It became a free-for-all now. Whereas at least before they felt that they were part of a family. I'm sure that that person, no matter what they were doing, they had red lines. There are things that if you talk to them objectively and neutrally on the side and calmly, if someone knew how to get it out of them, they will tell you what those red lines are. They have values, they have integrity. There are things that they would tell you, I would never do this, or I really believe in that, or this is someone I would never hurt, ever, ever. Okay, well, this is how you get into them. This is the good that you need. If someone tells you, maybe I hurt other people, but I would never hurt my brother or my sister or my mother. Well, really, what you're doing is hurting them. And maybe this is the way you get into them, get into talking with them. But if you exclude them, that's it, you've lost them. There's no more that you can do. You've cut the bridge. There is no more bridge, there's no more communication, and you've given them every reason to get into a free-for-all mode. And who knows what will happen now? Who they will associate with, who will become their new friends, their new family, their new community, their new actions.
So say it, just like on this, just to give like a practical example. So let's say a family member is drug addict, but we don't have the knowledge enough to contain him. So we can exclude him from the family, but keep continuing, like, what I mean is like maybe put him in a hospital and we still visit him there and everything, but he's contained there. So is that something what you mean technically?
Absolutely. So this is one way to continue keeping that person feel like they are part of a family, they have friends, there are people who are stepping in for them in their moment of need, in their hour of need. Don't let the person feel like they've become alone, that they've become isolated or secluded or marginalized. The moment you do that, you create another situation. And I'm not saying, of course, that you have someone who's very vulnerable to that. You don't expose them to that person. Of course, that's why I'm saying you have to be smart, you have to look at every situation on its own, but generally speaking, our religion and the spirit of our religion is to be inclusive. Not to push people out, to push people in. Find every hook possible to keep people together. And keep influencing with your conduct, not with your preaching.
So I had a true story, let's say, بهالشيء هيدا يعني تقريبا. In Scout in Montreal, I'm from Montreal. We had a guy when we were young. مش بفريق بس إنه he's in the lower groups. His family is a bad family. At least not his family, but his brothers are very bad. They did stuff I can't even say. Very bad brothers. And he was also, he was hyperactive. This was also like هيدا زيادة على المشكلة إنه هو كان يعني كتير influenced by his brothers, by his environment. And he was in Scout with us. And he was a bad influence, كان يزعج كمان كتير. So a lot of, sometimes the thought they were like, should we fire him? Should we because it was very bad. And this continued for like years. Maybe هو صغير صار عمره شي 16, 17. وهلا last 2 years بلش يتغير شوي. And this year قرر مش مثل ما قلت انت مش from emotions من اقتناع انه تغير كليا ونزل هلا he wanna become a شيخ. بده يحاول he wanna try. So نزل على لبنان يحاول يصير شيخ. مستحيل if I go back and look at this مستحيل فكر ان هالشاب ممكن يفكر شي نهار يعملها. And one of his brother كمان تغير وواحد تاني and like there's 3 or 4 guys who changed. And now I was looking at this and كيف تغيروا والشباب كانوا شيء يعني شيء مستحيل lost cases and no one like came to them and told them like I'll do this and do that. And I thought of it, I felt that the fact that the community didn't reject them تركوهم معهم. دائما الكل عم يحكي معهم كان في ناس مؤمنة أكيد مسلمة مش إنه كلهم كانوا مش مناح. But the fact that there was people that were good وهن ما كانوا they didn't exclude them خليهم يرجعوا. وعن جد واحد بلاحظ إنه هالمسألة هيك do not exclude if you have the tools of course. It's a very good thing.
Very good example. Yes, thank you.
Nothing is possible. Maybe you don't find a way at the beginning, but it's not possible.
So we didn't hear any question from the guys. Sure, guys. Any question for the Sayyid?
Guys, كله شيء.
From the sisters. Take advantage of the Sayyid is here.
Yes.
Yeah, fine.
So you find yourself in a situation where you're paralyzed and you can't move forward with action. What do you do to push yourself toward action?
So I need you to elaborate a little bit more on the situation.
Okay. So like going back to what you said before, like when you have all the knowledge,
Yeah.
you're paralyzed to action instead of like no knowledge and you jump into action. I'm asking like, what do you do to sort of push say from your point of view, to push yourself towards action when you're paralyzed?
Yeah, so this is actually a good question when I think it becomes, as I said, based on my experience in life in general. Thank you. Generally speaking, the people who follow this trend, as I said, are people who tend to be more religious, more educated. The more religious you are, the more you want to take precautions because you want to make sure that your action is the right action. And the more educated you are, the more time you want to spend researching and making sure you reach the perfect solution. And the perfect solution doesn't exist. I think a lot of this comes from a general awareness of how our religion is built. A lot of it has to do with a constant reminder that there is a call to action all the time from our religion. If you go back, I mentioned the short sayings of Imam Ali alayhi salam. There are so many short sayings from the Imam where he talks about opportunities. Some of them, for instance, where he says, opportunities are like clouds. They just pass by, and if you don't look at a cloud, you're never going to catch it again. It passes by once, and that's it. You missed it. If you start seeing the world in terms of every second you have, or every day you have, or every month you have, or every interaction you have, every relationship you have, every one of these is an opportunity. Either you do something about it or it's gone. Today I may have the knowledge, but what's holding me back is really what I think is I don't have the perfect conditions. I don't have the perfect knowledge. I have maybe a little bit of doubt here or there. But if I don't do anything about it, maybe tomorrow that entire opportunity is gone. I will not even be able to do anything about it. And then I will live with regret. I should have done something and I didn't. And the opportunity passed by. Today we have time, tomorrow we may not. Today we have money, tomorrow we may not. Today we have health, tomorrow we may not. Each one of these is, if you don't seize the opportunity, if you know there is something that's waiting for you to take an action, and you're just procrastinating, yeah, you have only but yourself to blame here. You're procrastinating. You can drill down a little bit on why are you procrastinating? There's probably a reason. Based on what you're saying, I don't think it's a good reason. I think the reason is you're procrastinating to procrastinate. You're overthinking, you're being overcautious about it, you need to take action. If you've done your homework, you've looked at your intentions, you're ready to act, act. And as we said, there's a call from our religion to act. Always act. Don't wait. If it's good enough, if you can get it going, the rest, inshallah, Allah will take care of. There's this saying we have it in the Holy Quran, we have it in the narrations, we have it in the Hadith Qudsi. So the Hadith Qudsi is a narration that is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it's not Quran. So it's a narration. And we have these narrations where it says, for instance, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to his servants, my servant, take one step towards me, and if I do not take 70 steps towards you, when you take one step towards me, then you can blame me. So if we understand the spirit of these, is our job is to act. We have to do something. One second. In the Holy Quran it says, those who struggle towards us, those who sacrifice and struggle towards us, so basically you take steps towards Allah in the way of Allah, we will guide them our ways. We will guide them to our paths. الَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. Allah is making a promise. Make a step towards me. That's why we said it's important to look at the sincerity of your action, the intention. Make a step towards me, make a step towards Allah, and Allah will show you the paths to follow afterwards. But make the step. Okay? Yes? Pardon me?
You answered.
I answered? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
صلى على محمد وآل
There's
محمد.
one more, there's one more. And then صلى على Muhammad.
So sometimes people can have maybe the wrong personalities to deal with other people. So say sometimes people can be a little angry. So for instance, people can trigger, like if they're having a discussion, they can get triggered, they can get angry. So with these people, like, are they accepted? Do they not deal with you?
Yeah, so we all have character traits and we're all supposed to be working on them all the time. And that's why we have to be smart about that. Anger, I think anger deserves so many topics, so many lectures, and so many discussions, especially in our communities. We're Arabs, we're known to be warm-blooded. We're all angry all the time, and the mosquitoes are not helping. Okay, but the reality is, if I can just say this in 1 second, and this is for another discussion. When this topic of anger, it triggers something in me all the time. If we look at the reason why, for instance, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us we're not allowed to take any drugs, or we're not allowed to consume alcohol. The main reason is because we lose our mind. We lose our intellectual faculty. We lose our reason. This mental faculty is diminished. And sometimes it's not even entirely lost. It's lost to a certain degree. When you read the narrations that we have about anger from the Holy Prophet and the Imams, really what it comes down to is the same reason. When we are angry, and if you look even in fiqh, in Islamic law, there are so many things that are not even counted if you do them while in a state of anger. It doesn't even count. It's as though you are in a state of diminished mental faculties. So someone who does not work on that it's as though they are someone who consumes drugs or consumes alcohol and is not realizing how they are diminishing their faculties. And if you want to see the purity or the spiritual purification of someone, look at their ability to control their anger. Because naturally, people don't control their anger. It means it requires a lot of training. It's a lot of self-discipline for someone to be put in situations where they are angry and they're still completely in control of themselves. And we see this in the history and the lives of the Imams, and we also see this in our scholars. A lot of our scholars were actually put to the test. Some of our scholars, one example for instance, Sheikh Ibn Araqi and others, they wrote huge ethics books. So they're basically telling people how to have a pure spirit, right? A pure soul. So as we said, between scholars, everybody knows the preaching part is easy. Before I look inside your book, I want to make sure that you're actually of this level, of this caliber of spirituality to tell me how to conduct myself. So the scholars between themselves, sometimes they know and sometimes they don't know. Okay? When they don't know, they may send someone, they may pay someone to go put that scholar to the test. So a scholar, for instance, who had just published a book about ethics, one of the scholars paid someone and told them, go knock on the door and ask them this fiqh question. Okay, so they went and asked. He paid them. And he told them, go do it again every hour or two, go knock on their door and ask this other question. And they did this the entire day, and they did this 10, 12, 15 times in a day that is known to be extremely hot, where people usually sleep in Najaf and in Iraq. Usually people sleep during those days, but they're testing the scholar. And when the scholar kept coming back to the door and every time answering the question patiently and going back, at the end, that other scholar who sent this man and paid them, he came to the door. And when he opened the door, he was there, and he told him, he kissed him on his head, between his eyes, and he told him, you are truly a scholar of ethics like we thought you were. I'm the one who paid this person to come because I want to see how you deal with these. It may look like it's a trivial situation, but a lot of people would be fed up and they would lose their patience or they would get angry. This is ridiculous. Why are you wasting my time with these questions? Can't you wait until I sit in the mosque, for instance, and ask me? And this man would keep coming back and saying, no, this is my duty. I have to answer these religious questions. This is one example, and we have so many of them. So this issue of anger, it always triggers me. I have a lot to say about it. Okay, so to go back to the question, I think, yeah, we have to be very careful. We do not want to create situations where there are people who are triggering, whether it's anger or other things. We don't want to trigger. That's why you have to choose. The Holy Quran, for instance, when it talks about problems, let's say, between a wife and a husband, they say, send one person from her family and send one person. Why does it do that? Because it wants to calm the situation and have the right people who are thinking objectively there. You don't want people who are emotional and passionate and angry and no. You want people who are going to calm the situation, who can think properly, and who can bring things back to what a reasonable person would say. Not someone who is angry or hot-blooded or hot-tempered, and of course they're just going to be triggered and jump on things, and it's going to be a cycle of action, reaction, action, reaction. Okay, I think now that's it. Thank you all very much for having invited me. I thank you all very much. I hope you have enjoyed the time that you have had and that you'll continue to enjoy the rest of the time that you've had. And inshallah, I'll be part of this in the future too. And inshallah, Allah continues to bless you and the work that you do. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin.